Hello, everybody, and welcome to Licensing Subgroup A hearing for some street trading licenses. First item on the agenda is to elect a chairman for the purpose of the meeting. Thank you, Councillor Keane. So Councillor Keane is proposing, Councillor Goodridge and Councillor Gale second. So therefore, Councillor Goodridge will chair.
Good morning. Thanks very much and welcome everybody to this meeting. Item 2 on the agenda, a disclosure of interests. Are there any?
None, Chair.
Right. The first application we have is an application for a street trading consent. The lay-by south of the junction with Elmbridge Road on the A281 Horsham Road, Cranley, which I think is a renewal of a license or consent. The format that this will take is that I will, after I've introduced everybody that's going to take part in this particular application, I will ask the officer of the council, Spencer Robinson, to introduce it briefly. Then you'll have the opportunity of saying what you want to say about it. Have you had the papers, the agenda papers? Have you seen what the papers we have in front of us? No? Yeah, okay. Well, doesn't matter too much. So you can say what you want to say. The committee then may have some questions to ask you. And then at the end, before we retire to make a decision, you'll have the opportunity just to summarize anything you want to add, okay? And then everybody on this platform will disappear because we need legal advice and our clerk to write the decision down. So let's introduce, I'm Councillor Michael Goodridge. I represent Bramley and Wannosh Ward. And on my left is...
I'm Councillor Jackie Keane and I represent Shottermill and Critchmere in Haslemere.
And on my right?
I'm Councillor Gale. I represent Whitley and Milford.
And on the wing on the right?
I'm Kimberly Soane, Democratic Services Officer and clerking the meeting.
Gillian Carson-Jones, Legal Services.
And perhaps you'd like to introduce yourselves?
I am Faik Izlerim. I am a part of the business Bodrum Kebab Van.
My name is Mahmoud Deveci. We are cousin and we are business partners.
Yeah, okay.
Working together.
Both the applicants and related, fine. And then...
Good morning. Yeah, I'm Spencer Robinson. I'm a pollution control officer working in the environmental protection team here at Waverley, and I processed the application for Bodrum Kebab.
Good. And you're not taking part in this one. Right, good. And the next, I say we try and keep it friendly and informal, but have to have some sort of process to get it done. So can I ask Spencer Robinson, please, just to introduce this application briefly? Thank you.
Thank you. So the application was submitted on the 5th of April 2024 for a renewed street trading consent to trade in the lay-by south of junction with Elmbridge Road, A281 Horsham Road, Cranley. The map is available in Appendix 6 of the report submitted. A list of the food and drink items they propose to sell is included in the appendices as well. The policy requires local stakeholders and the public to be consulted on the application. That was subject to a 28-day consultation period. That was sent out, the consultation was sent out on the 5th of April 2024. After the consultation period, was over on the 3rd of May 2024. One objection remained from Surrey County Council Highways Department. That objection was on public safety grounds. The details are included in the report. Yeah, that's it. That's
Right. And this is a renewal.
yes.
How long have the applicants been trading where they are at the moment?
So in conversation with the applicants, I believe you've been trading in that location for something in excess of 20 years.
Yeah.
But the existing street trading consent has only been valid for 1 year. It's renewed every year, and I think the first one was in 2021 when the policy was readdressed.
Okay. Fine. Now, is there anything you'd like to tell us? If you know what we know already, we don't need to repeat it, but anything you want to emphasize to us before we ask you a question or two?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are welcome to come here to meeting. And I was going to say the first, our burger van is in the Cranley. It was in town center of the Cranley in 2000 in 2001 till 2002, I think. That time I was a staff to work in the caravan. So after is Waverley Council get decision to close all the street food is in Cranley, in Godalming, and in Fankham, and in Farnham as well, I think. And we are at 4 or 5 people, so we are the close the van, so where we staying, so we got outside the town center. And then those time, we find that lay-by. So I think if you can look at the background, it could be 2002 or 2000, maybe something like that, 2002, between 2001 and 3 could be. So we got to find this lay-bys, and we come to council with the map, the planning. So we say we're gonna stay here on this lay-by is any problem. And the Waverley Council says, yes, fine, you can stay there, is no problem. So since we're there till 2002, so I said 22 years or 21 years, we are in same lay-by. And then last year, so we got to lifetime license for that lay-by since about 10, 15 years in same lay-by for late time after 11 o'clock to open to late time. So we got license, and we got every couple of years, Health and Safety is come to check our vans regularly. And then last years we appeals for the normal license. We got the email from I don't very much recognize his ladies. I think name or surname is Anna. I think she working in Waverley Councils. So we got deal with her like for the application license, and then we get the license last year's, and then we are working. So this year's we again for the same places we need the license, and then renew the license, to be honest, and then we go. So we're here now.
Yep. Did the Highway Authority object a year ago?
We didn't anything. We have anything from highway letter or emails or license. So since we're there like 20 years, over than 20 years, and Mr. Robinson's, he came to visiting us behalf of like Waverley Council, and then see where we're staying, how we're working, and then yeah, and
Okay.
you know about everything.
Right.
Thank you. Cheers.
We'll now ask some questions. Councillor Keane?
So you've been in this area on that lay-by for a very long time. Have you ever had any problems there with traffic or or any sort of issues of safety?
No, because we are a bit of closed traffic light, and we got one of them traffic light cameras and on front of on the main road. So the traffic is when the both sides of road. So it's security, to be honest, because this traffic light is on the both sides. As the people on this way, the Guildford side or the Horsham side, the both sides, when the people goes and they see the traffic light is like a 4 junctions, and then be slow down and then stop by the red light, you know, and then we are close to the traffic light as well. That's why I don't see any. But 20 years is not any problem anyway. So, and then not any accident or any trouble, nothing.
Councillor Gale?
Yes, and I believe Highways suggested a lay-by that's further down to the south from where you currently trade, but that would actually have a problem because I think you said that large trucks park there, and also there's nowhere for you to sit back from that lay-by. Is that correct?
No, if the truck is, when we are come there, generally they no parking there because is the next lay-by is bigger than our lay-by. So when we came to there, if any truck is there, so now we tell them, please, can you because our customers is waiting, we are enough parking space for 8 cars or something like that, maybe more than that. And then the other lay-by is a bit bigger. We say, if you're going to stay in here like all night, can you be moved to the next lay-by, please? And they say, okay, oh, thank you. If people knows us, we are over than 20 years, the trucks around there, none of them parking there, but somewhere to different places, if truck is coming for Dunsfold Airport to, for the loading stuff or something like that, if they late and then well, anyways, there is another, except our lay-bys, another 3 more lay-bys there. It's more lay-by, it's more space. Yeah.
Thank you. The suggestion from Surrey County Council that you move to the bigger lay-by, is that lay-by often very busy with trucks, with the big trucks?
But yeah, but like I say, if the truck is coming, the big truck is there generally like 80% they park on the big laybys, and the big laybys we want to stay into our lay-by because is the our laybys when the traffic starting is being like a 10, 20 maximum. The come to our place is 40 miles an hour, and after the speed is going up to 60, 70. So the second lay-by is more people's as driving faster, and then there's no street light over there, and then it's a bit of you know, like for people, customers are reversing in and out, there's going to be problem, is my objection. But in the our lay-by is traffic is below down, you know, so when they come in or goes and then straight.
Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry we kept you waiting so long. We are very happy to grant your street trading consent, which will be for the usual 12 months. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Man in Hayes, you know, everybody raves about it.
Can I just confirm, Kirsty, are you the applicant for Howe Fish and Chips?
I'm the franchise manager.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Right, we now move on to the item 4, which is the application for an itinerant street trading consent in Elsted, Cramhurst, Whitley, Chiddingfold, Dunsfold, Oxford Ridge, Aarons Hill, Bramley, Wannish, Shamley Green and Ewhurst. I think everybody was present when I introduced everybody last time. So unless you want me to repeat it, I don't propose to do so. So we do have Councillor Higgins here, who is the member for Ewhurst, who wishes to speak, no doubt, when it comes to Ewhurst. The same format will take place. I will ask the officer, Spencer Robinson, to introduce the matter. And then Kirsty, who's online, can then say what she would want to say about it. I then propose to deal with the village by village, if you see what I mean, where we can review what is being applied for, if the objections have been removed or not removed, and therefore whether there's any issue. If there's no issue on a particular village, we'll just pass on straight to the next village until, you know, and then deal with the villages where there's a dispute. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, could we just confirm with the objector which village he is objecting to, so that we know who to bring him in, which one?
Absolutely.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sorry, we haven't asked you to introduce yourself, so my apologies for that. Please introduce yourself and tell us which village you are involved in. Press the,
That's got it.
yeah,
Yeah, my name's Steve Wells. I live in Ewhurst.
right. So we have 2 people here from Ewhurst and no other villages have got somebody present. Okay, so I don't see any point in actually taking Ewhurst first, because you're all going to have to be here till the end anyway. So we'll deal with it. Robinson, would you like?
Chair,
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm actually also the parish councillor for Whitley and Milford,
Right.
and the parish council there, which I'm chair of, have put in recommendations on that particular village. So,
Right.
okay.
Okay. Fine. Right. I think it's your turn now, Robinson.
Thank you. So, yep, the application for Howe & Co Fish and Chips was submitted on the 28th of March 2024 for their itinerant street trading consent to trade from 3:45 until 11 p.m. stopping in various locations across Waverley Borough according to the following schedule: Elsted, Cramhurst and Whitley on Mondays, Chillingfold and Dunsfold on Tuesdays, Oxford Ridge and Arons Hill on Wednesdays, Bramley on Thursdays, Wonersh and Shamley Green on Fridays, and Ewhurst on Saturdays. The application is included in Appendix 4 of the report, and the final version of the proposed trading location maps as Appendix 5. A list of the food and drink items they propose to sell, as well as discussion around their health and safety specifications, is included in the report. Upon completion of the application, the relevant stakeholders were all notified at the start of the consultation period. The deadline for consultation responses was the 26th of April, 28 days after the start of the consultation period. Sorry, I might clarify. I think I may have said the beginning was the 28th of April. I should have said the 28th of March, just to be clear. Additionally, the public were also notified of the application via the council's social media platforms. As detailed in paragraph 2.2 of the policy, itinerant traders are not required to post notices on location, as with other applicants. Following the end of the consultation period, there were 20 responses in total, 15 of which were objections. 4 of those objections were withdrawn following clarifications and agreements of bespoke conditions, which are included in the appendices of the report. So that's a total of 11 separate objections until this point, pertaining to concerns over public safety, public nuisance and needs of the area. I do have a summary here, but we can go over it village by village if that's preferred.
I think we prefer it that way.
Yep. Okay, that's fine. I'll save further comments until we get onto the individual villages. Thank you.
And so just for clarification, the maps, or underlining the maps we have from page 67 to 75 are the locations that are still being sought by the applicant. The original maps had, on some of the villages, had other ones which have since been removed. Just
That's
so
correct.
that's quite clear. Right, now then, Kirsty, would you
Yes.
like to give us an overview of the situation? And then we'll probably ask questions on the general overview, and then we'll embark on village by village when you can speak on each village, and we'll look at the objections for that village in question.
Okay. Okay, well, we're a company that have now been trading for 94 years. This is for, the application is for a franchise of How & Co Fish and Chips. They already have one van that operates within Epsom and Ewell, which they have a licence for, Guildford, which they have a licence for, and Reigate and Banstead. So they operate in the area. This is a second van of theirs, which they would they'd like to have a licence for trading within Waverley Borough District. So obviously we submitted this with our maps as we normally would. Obviously we have had objections to certain areas and stops. So with working with Spence, we've removed those locations, and actually on a different one, which actually was Ewhurst, actually the village club owner actually contacted us to ask to say we could park in his car park. So for that one, we'd actually remove the stops and just stop in one location. So basically the maps have been redone several times. We've removed the stops that people have asked, you know, whether they wouldn't want us down the road or causing a nuisance. So we've changed all those. I mean, we operate like this because, well, it's one way we've always operated, but we offer a service we can deliver to people that are unable to get out to the van. We basically kind of go to them more so that, you know, rather than people waiting and coming to us. We do have places where we do just do one stop, but obviously also doing like multiple stops. We also cut down on people, you know, causing a nuisance at the van, anything like that, because basically people come to us, order their food and leave. So yes, I mean, that's basically how everything's been put together, and that's, you know, say we've changed the maps, and you know, hopefully we'll see what people have to say. But so that's kind of why we've put in for the license.
I see on one of the observations that Surrey County Council had suggested that perhaps you would have certain sites that you stayed at, set sites, instead of being itinerant. Had you considered, I mean, bearing in mind we are a very rural borough, had you considered, you know, choosing sites where you could actually stay for longer?
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to do that if that's obviously the decision made, and obviously that would be, but we obviously submitted for the license, so we continued down that path until, you know, obviously there was a decision made. So say, for example, I mean, we could contact people as well to see if there's locations we could stop, which say it's different to how we normally trade, but we are happy to do that if there was so many objections to us actually trading in the way that we do. So whilst obviously submitted this, we thought, you know, go through this application and then see if it's a no, then obviously we can look at other areas and maybe just do one stop for a longer period of time.
Could I ask, how does it work in practice of stopping for only 20 minutes? I mean, how long does it take to cook fish and chips? And,
yeah, I mean, well, it's very quick, you know, so, and generally how it works is over time, we kind of get down to like regular customers, really. So we know what people have. You get used to your customers, so you know what to have kind of ready. Cooking fish and chips is very quick. It's not a long process. So, yeah, so basically that's kind of how it gets you. It's more, say, you get your regulars rather than random people coming from all over, really. And that's why we do different villages, different nights of the week, same village so Monday would always be the same place every week. Your timings would get down to, you know, say we operate like this in all different areas, and it generally gets down to about 15 to 20 minutes per stop. Sometimes quicker. Sometimes you might only get one customer, so it's, you know, so it can be quicker.
Councillor Gale.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kirsty. Just a couple of questions from me, really. You stop, and have people ordered previously by phone from you? Do you take phone orders, so you tell them what time you're actually going to be at a stop so they can collect? Or is it literally people just rock up and you cook the fish and chips as they order?
It's a bit of both, really. Generally, I mean, people do call up and place orders, so we know what to have ready. Or we do have people just turn up, but generally, as I said, it's generally down to regular customers. But we do have people that ring up and place an order. So when we get there, you know, we can start getting it ready. But say we also do have people that just turn up at the van and place their order there and then.
Thank you. Is there a particular reason why you've sort of asked for the general stops of 20 minutes all around the different villages rather than pinpointing a specific spot to be every week or every Monday or whatever it comes down to?
It's just because this is a way that we've always traded, and say we can, once if we do like this and we have multiple stops, we're able to deliver to people as well that are unable to get out to the van, like the elderly, disabled. We even deliver to people with like young children who can't get out to the van. So it offers a different service as well, rather than just parking in one spot or one location, and everyone having to come to you. You know, so that's how, you know, say we traded, and that's why we've continued with the multiple stops.
Thank you, Kirsty. If you're going to be delivering as well as selling on the van, how many people do you have on there? Because surely that's going to reduce the time you can spend on a site.
We have 2 people on the van. So we have one server, one fryer. So while someone's serving, generally people just quickly pop off the van. They know what they've ordered. We know the order. So if you're delivering to someone, within that location, and we're not, you know, we don't get off the van and walk 20 minutes down the road. It's literally nigh on close to the house, pop out, deliver their fish and chips, and back on the van. So it'll never be left on its own unmanned. It will always be, you know, 2 people on there, and one can always jump off and go and deliver the food.
Can I just ask you, on these sites that you've picked, I mean, I'm just looking at all of the sites, but did you kind of do a sort of a recce of the sites to see what the parking was like on some of those roads? Because bearing in mind, there will be roads where there is on-road parking, and I know that quite often a road will be full of cars. So did you actually do a kind of a visit to these roads before you mark them off?
Yes, we did. So it was actually not myself that did it, but it was the Jay, who actually would be the license holder, who owns the van. He went round there, and actually I'd actually done maps previously, but he actually cut stops out. So when he went round to all the villages, he, as you say, you know, obviously there was cars parked there. They wouldn't be able to turn the van round. It might be a bit tight. So he cut stops out, and that's why also we've got, you know, there might have been more stops originally on the maps when they were done, and that's why we've actually cut some out, because obviously we have to, you know, people's safety, getting the van down, people's cars, being able to park somewhere, because we don't want to go down a road and get stuck either. So it's, you know, and we have to be able to park somewhere. So that's why, you know, generally speaking, we park in the same spot, give or take, every single week. So, you know, you get to know where people are, where the cars are. And if it is a problem and there are too many cars, we would stop doing the stop, because we have to take, you know, everything else into consideration, and safety as well.
Good. Well, I think that covers the sort of general questions. So I'm now going to go through them in the order of the maps. I think is going to be the easiest. So we'll start with Elstead, where there is an objection, and the objection for Elstead is that there's an objection on the ground of needs for the area. Elstead Parish Council referred to an existing fish and shop in the village and the desire to promote and preserve existing businesses. I couldn't find the letter, but I may have missed it. What page is the Elstead letter? It's not in the order I might have expected.
Page 107.
107, right. The objections on 107. Oh, it's at the end. Oh, right. So perhaps we could ask the question of the Elstead one as to, I see from the map that you are going to be on the periphery of the village, but one near the middle. Are you aware there is a fish and chip shop in Elstead, and are you aware of the hours of that fish and chip shop?
From what I understand, they actually close on the Monday.
Ah, right. And you're proposing to visit on a Monday?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on Elstead?
Couldn't comment on that. I don't know whether the fish and
No,
chip shop does
no.
close on a Monday.
Can the officer help me? Are you aware of whether the fish and chip shop at Elstead is closed on a Monday?
I wasn't aware of that personally. No.
Okay. Okay, fine. So that's the only ground for objection. So unless there's any further questions on Elstead, I'll move on. Elstead has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 1's not there. I think it's 5 stops, Kirsty, is it, in Elstead?
I believe it's 5 stops in Elstead.
4 of which are at one end of the village and 1 down the bottom. Yes?
Sorry,
Spencer.
I understand that it's 6 stops from the latest revision of the
Oh,
maps.
I've got it at the very
Oh,
bottom.
sorry, yes, it's King, yes.
Pot
there is.
Common at the bottom.
Yeah.
I missed the pot. Right, okay. There's-
I've just checked on the web and Frankie's Fish and Chip Shop is closed on a Monday.
Okay, and you're proposing to go on a Monday.
Yes.
Okay. Any more information we want before we make a decision on that one when we retire? No? Well, let's move on from Elstead now to Whitley. And the Whitley situation is that they now neither support nor object.
Would you like me to speak? on
Yes,
that,
do.
Chris? Yes.
Do you want to ask any
Yes, I
questions?
think sorry. I think they did previously have objections to the amount of stops, and also some were quite inappropriate in very narrow roads where there's lots of parking. Howes have actually reduced that now to ones which we felt probably were okay from the Whitley's point of view. But they don't want to object or permit because they are unsure how the local residents will feel. And it's really going to be a case of see how it goes, to be honest. But yes, but thank you for taking out some of the stops.
Think I can speak generally, and Spencer can Omson confirm way or nay, but if we grant a particular village with stops and it turns out to be a disaster because you get complaints from lots of people and it, you know, or traffic jams or whatever it may be, presumably you could then negotiate with the person we've given consent to withdraw it. And if they don't withdraw it, presumably you could bring it back before the 1 year is up and say to the committee, would you vary it? Is that
That's
right or
correct.
not?
Yeah, according to our policy, we can amend, revoke based on communications or complaints that we might have had, any reports that come into us regarding that property, that business. Obviously, we would review the information that comes in and there'd be a discussion around the validity of the complaint. But yes, we retain that right.
So as we understand it, the Milford or Whitley, yes, sorry.
If I could just add to that, that the legislation does allow that the council can vary the conditions of a street trading consent, or it can be revoked at any time. Thank you.
Fine. So I was right on that. So clearly, the sort of Whitley situation is it looks all right, but we want to wait and see. And if there is a disaster or something, then no doubt the parish council or locals could come back to you and see if we could sort it out. Okay. That, I think, deals with Whitley and Milford. So we now move on to we're Chiddingfold. There's two down. No, yes, I think. So we've dealt with Whitley and Milford. So the next one is Chiddingfold, where we have 3 Chiddingfold residents who've objected, and the parish council neither support nor object, according to my. So I'm sorry, I'm doing it the map order, not the other order that I've got here. Dunsfold. Let's deal with Dunsfold. They had a query, and that query has been dealt with.
Yes, a resident of Dunsfold contacted just to clarify exact locations in Dunsfold, and they've been consulted with when the revisions of those of the maps have come through, and it's an opportune moment to mention, if I may, only very recently we received a question from that same resident regarding the maps. He raised location number 3 as shown on the map in the report that you will have in front of you.
Yeah.
That is that would actually have been on private land. Considering that, I was in touch with the applicant and Kirsty to clarify their position on that location. They have actually expressed their willingness to just remove that location from the application. So any consent, if granted, would not include location 3 in
Okay.
Dunsfold.
Kirsty, is that right? That we would be looking at in Dunsfold locations 1 and 2 only?
Yes, that's right. We've removed stop 3.
Okay. So for 1 and 2, there's in effect no objections. Right,
That's correct, yeah.
thank you. We then move to the next map, which is Chiddingfold, I think. It doesn't say so, but looking at the roads, I think I recognise some of them. So that must be Chiddingfold. And in Chiddingfold, we have the council saying neither support nor object, and 3 Chiddingfold residents are objecting. Those objections are on certainly 94, 93, working backwards. Yeah, I think certainly they are, yeah, page 93 and 94, I think. And they are. Do you want to comment, Kirsty, on the objections from Chiddingfold, where we've got 3 residents who are objecting?
I have to find those objections. A second.
There, if you've got the bundle of papers in front of you,
I haven't. I've got them here on.
93, I think, and 94. Spencer first, then.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. So Chiddingfold, there's the 3 residents' objections and the parish council objection as well. Councillor Busby of Chiddingfold neither supports nor rejects.
Right, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, could I just speak?
Yes, do.
I notice on one of here that Chiddingfold have said rather than the itinerant stopping locations, maybe a long stay would be considered. They do also have a food vendor who operates on a different weekday evening, which is in the grounds car park on Coxcomb Lane. I wonder, the recreation ground car park, I wonder if that might be slightly more favourable to Chiddingfold rather than in all these different lanes and roads, because it's very narrow.
Okay. Yes, I mean, we're happy to do that if that would be best for people to be able to still visit, and if someone else is actually there doing that, then maybe that's what the residents are more used to. So, you know, if their roads are, they're saying too narrow, and it would get a decision to be able to stop in one location, we would be happy to alter that.
Thank you. Obviously you're aware, Kirsty, that Chiddingfold is not a very big village, and they already have a restaurant that does a takeaway fish and chip service. Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
So it could be quite damaging to their service if you were actually in that village.
So the village, is it, yes, it's Councillor Busby, I think, who suggested that to go to the same place in Coxcomb Lane would be, which of course is not in the middle of the village,
No.
would be a better location. I mean, we're being asked for an itinerant license. We can't change the application, can we? We could say it would be 20 minutes at Cotscombe Lane, but can someone advise us as to what powers we've got if we should decide that Coxcomb Lane only, but for longer than 20 minutes would be a good idea? Can the legal department or Spencer tell me what we could or cannot do, bearing in mind the application we have in front of us?
As I understand it, and in discussion with colleagues of mine that have been dealing with street trading consents for a number of years, it would need to be a separate application for a sort of long stay proposal. So, the itinerant consents have typically been granted with the condition of 20-minute maximum. So it'd have to be a separate application.
Yeah, but what we could do with the consent of the applicant, and we haven't made our mind up, obviously, is grant an itinerant 20-minute stop at Chiddingfold at Cotscombe Lane, and then they could apply for that 20 minutes to be extended on a different type of license later on if they wish to do so.
Subject to permission from the landowner and the relevant stakeholders there, then I believe that's the case, but it would be useful to get clarification from Gillian.
I think in terms of the application for the consent, it's on the basis of the papers that you have in front of you. So obviously there is a basis on which a variation could take place in future if that was appropriate, but I think you need to consider the paperwork that you have and the proposed addresses that are put out in front of you. And
so we basically can't change the location even with consent of the applicant? Right, okay. Bear that in mind in Ewhurst as well. Okay, so basically we have to decide whether the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9 locations in Chiddingfold should be granted or not. Kirsty, would you like to come back, particularly on bearing in mind the objections for Chiddingfold, as to what you want to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, so this is also where we cut down on certain stops and things. Because people saying that the vehicle may be too large to go down those roads, which obviously we do, we take into account, because obviously saying, it's us driving the vehicle, so we do take that into account. We also put out, so we did cut some stops out on certain roads. We might have put 2 in where we've cut them out and just put 1. Also the thing what we also do, and I can't actually find it at the moment, we also put out on Facebook, we join groups and things, and we put out a poll to ask people whether they'd like the service, and that's why we also pick the certain location, the villages that we do, because we have a lot of interest. If I put something out there and said, would you like this, and we ended up with 100 people coming back saying no, then we wouldn't actually even look at the village or even try, because obviously the service isn't wanted. So that's also another reason. So I think it was mainly down to the size of the and the multiple stops, really. So if we do need to, if people, if there residents aren't happy, we would then obviously have to have a look at maybe just reapplying for on a separate license to just stop in one location.
Okay, so we have to decide whether to grant the 1 to 9 or cut some out. And if we do say no, then you'll come back with another application on a different type of license.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Kirsty, if this license, and nothing's been decided yet, but if the license was not agreed for itinerant, have you looked at other sites within Waverley, within these villages, that you could actually have a longer stay with a different license, which in some areas may suit you better, because obviously when you've got businesses that are actually, I know that it's good to have, you know, opposition, if you like, but have you considered looking at other sites, or have you looked at permanent sites that you could actually go to?
We have, I mean, not in all of the locations, no. In certain locations, say, like I've said about Ewhurst, we actually have spoken to the club there, and they were happy for us to do one stop there and stay all night. It obviously, it also helped them. They were very keen for the van to go along, because obviously they also get people in as well. So that's quite good. We did contact, and I'm trying to think, I can't seem to see it. One of the, I think it was a football club. It was a recreation ground football club. It could have been in Chiddingfold, and I think it might have been Chiddingfold actually. To contact them to do one stop. So yes, we would say we would be happy to look at those locations, but you know, that's why I say we just continued with this license, because obviously we'd already put in for it, we'd already gone over the 28 days. You know, so rather than just pull it completely, we thought we would just continue with it and see, you know, if it was accepted. Because say we did get a lot of feedback from residents that they wanted the service. And also that's another reason why we continued.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything more on Chiddingfold? I now move to Godalming, Oxford Ridge and Aarons Hill, where I think I'm right in saying from memory that their objection is now being withdrawn. Objection has been withdrawn, and Councillor Keel, no further objections. And their objections were on pages 83 and 84 and 85. So I think I'm right in saying, Bronson, that Godalming is not a problem. Am I right?
So yes, the Godalming Town Council representative confirmed they were withdrawing their objection, and Councillor Victoria Keel, the last correspondence, I haven't got the date in front of me, but yes, was saying no further objections following their queries.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry, Spencer, that I was just reading through the Godalming Town Council. They were saying the restriction of trading outside residential properties to 9 p.m. Is that correct? Has that been taken into account?
Yes, so that's the single bespoke condition, if you like, that's included in the appendices. And yes, it would restrict to anything outside a residential area, which is predominantly, I think it's pretty much all the stops on the application, restricting it to 9 p.m.
That would be Godalming only applying there, or all of them?
That was going to be applied to the entire application in the end, because it was supported by other consultees when I posed that to them. So there's a
general consensus that any licence we grant will stop at 9 o'clock, whatever village it is?
Yes, but it's specifically for outside residential properties.
Yes, outside residential. Okay.
Would need to have a sort of stop-by-stop review to ensure that if there are any not outside residential properties, then that technically wouldn't apply. But then, as Gillian has mentioned, obviously it's about the application that is here.
Yeah. Is that your understanding, Kirsty?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and we did change that when confirmed that with Spencer that it would be across the board till 9 o'clock.
Okay, fine, that's clear. So I think Godalming, no problem. So we then move on to Bramley, where I don't think there's been any objections at all. Is that right? Find you couldn't get into Bramley now with any van at all with the 281 closed, but there we are. That's another story.
We didn't get any responses other than Surrey County Highways. They mentioned, I can't remember exactly where it was, but there was one stop that they objected to. They obviously looked at the application sort of overall and picked out spots that they had concerns with. One of those, if I remember correctly, was in Bramley, but that has been removed in agreement with them and the applicant.
So as per the map on page 72, there would appear to be no objections on the face of it for Bramley at all. Yes, Councillor Keane?
Yeah. Just one comment on that. On stop number 8 on Bramley, that is in a road where there's an educational facility. So that could be a very busy, because it looks like it's sort of a cul-de-sac area. So that could be quite a busy road at whatever time.
No, it isn't. It isn't actually. It's the back.
Bramley.
It's the back of St Catherine's School. All the traffic for St Catherine's is off Station Road, and it's the village hall actually that it's towards the village hall down there. So I don't think we have a problem on Bramley. We then come to Wonersh, where they had a query only, but and there's been a withdrawal, I think, of one in Blackheath Lane, which would have been inappropriate. So again, the stops are ones that everyone's happy with. Am I right? Those sides there?
Yep. Yes.
So we then move on to the next one, which is Shamley Green. And that's also covered by Wonersh Parish Council, also covers Shamley Green, and they don't seem to have had any queries for Shamley Green. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. So Shamley Green, no problem. And we then have the last one, which is Ewhurst, where we do have objections. Perhaps, Kirsty, you could sort of summarise the position so far as you are concerned for Ewhurst, and I'll invite the two gentlemen present, councillor and member of the public, to say what they want to say about Ewhurst.
Okay. Well, Ewhurst, that's also another one. We did actually cut down the stops that we've already been through as well. Because like, for example, the Glebe, we actually had quite a lot of stops on there. But we've actually cut that down to 2. We've cut other roads out that we were going to go to, not stopping on the main B road. But so we have cut those stops down by quite considerably. But we have also spoken to the guy that runs the village club. So obviously, if it was objected to the actual license with regards to doing multiple stops, it might be that we could reapply for going to the club, because when we actually spoke to the guy at the club, he actually said that we could go there, because he said it was his private land. And obviously different councils and boroughs, some you can go as long as you can trade in that area, you're allowed to stop there. Others places are now saying that private land, it doesn't matter, they would still require a license. So that's why when we spoke, he said he didn't want to get in trouble. Obviously, he holds a license, so he wanted for everything to be confirmed for the licensing before. Obviously, we just went there. We did discuss that if it was like, say, a private event, like we do private events, we could go there, we could serve for the private event and leave, but it wouldn't be that case. It would be a regular weekly thing. So we left it for now. if it was declined, then obviously we would have to put in for another, say, license just to do a stop at the village club.
Okay. Right. Councillor Higgins, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, thank you to Mr. Robinson for preparing a report, and it's a slightly unusual application. But moving on to the application, it's a difficult one because unanimously, I'd say almost unanimously, the residents and I want a fish and chip ban in the village. And when I looked at the applicant's business, it's got a good reputation, good reviews, and I like businesses that are innovative, and this is an innovation. I think that probably works well in larger areas, moving around for the convenience of customers. The problem we have is in Newhurst, it's a small village with little to no street lighting, and I'm grateful for the applicant reducing the stops, but the majority of stops still there in the application are typically full of cars, single lane traffic. The van will struggle to park. The applicant mentions Newhurst Village Club. Absolutely right. I've spoken to the president there, and he confirms he wants the fish and chip van there. Unfortunately, what you've heard today is that you have to judge the application on what's in front of you. The Newhurst Village Club car park doesn't appear in the plans on the map, and I think that there would be difficulty in that the condition, the overriding condition is that it has to stay in one spot for 20 minutes maximum. Obviously, that's not going to be convenient for the applicant, so it does look like it needs, if it's unsuccessful, it would need a separate application. The Village Club car park is a good location. It's safe for people to park to get their fish and chips. I would recommend also the Village car park, which is central to Newhurst. It's owned by the parish council. There's existing food vans there as well. It's a good location, and if an application, a separate application came for those locations, I'd be fully supporting it. But based on the current location, you know, for the current stops as presented, I can't support this. And I have residents as well that are objecting to those locations, and one resident is obviously here today.
Just so I understood what you said, there's the club and there's the village car park. Is that one and the same thing or two different locations?
Two different locations. So Village Club car park be north of the village. The village car park is central to the village.
Right. So the view is in the village, is it, from you being the local councillor, is that those two locations for staying for more than 20 minutes would hit the spot so far as your village is concerned, but not the numerous locations that are still on our map at the moment?
Absolutely correct. And I think even with the objections from residents, they were putting forward those sites as well. So yeah, we would be in support of that.
Okay. Yes, sir. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chair. My objection on your papers is, I think, response 17.
Yeah, page 100.
You have the advantage of me. It wouldn't
Yes.
print on my
Yeah.
printer.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. I live in an address on Larkfield in Newhurst. I've lived there for 30 years. Larkfield residents' properties are subject to a restrictive covenant which prohibits home businesses which cause a nuisance, including noise and smells. It's not unusual, particularly in relatively modern developments. I'm here to object to the proposed siting on Larkfield of the itinerant fish and chip van. In presenting my objections, I've read Howe & Co.'s application, Mr. Spencer's report, and your street trading policy 2021. I note that in addition to considering the application by reference to Waverley Borough Council's strategic priorities, you as the subcommittee are also tasked with applying paragraph 1.2 of the general guidelines and paragraphs 2.3 and 2.5 of the Waverley Borough Council street trading policy. I'm sure you're perfectly familiar with that. I wasn't. I'll try and structure my objections with reference to those three documents, if I may, and generally, and then as it specifically relates to Larkfield. I hope I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I have been quite patient, to be fair, just sitting here. I'd argue that the application fails the test mentioned in section 6 of the report to you, strategic priorities, and particularly paragraph 1.2 of the street trading policy general guidelines. Firstly, the business appears to be registered in Kingston upon Thames, a local authority. As it's itinerant in its nature, I don't see how it provides any local employment or support the local economy in any meaningful way. There's no symbiosis with other businesses in Ewhurst that I can think of, and I've lived in the village for 30 years. Paragraph 1.2 of the policy refers to the importance of local businesses to the local economy. Howe & Co is clearly not a local business to Ewhurst. It's itinerant by its very nature. So I think the application fails this primary test. It doesn't support a strong local economy other than taking money out of it. I would argue that the junk food articles to be sold as detailed in paragraph 11 of the application would actually harm, not improve the health and well-being of local residents. So it fails that part of the test, in my opinion, as well. Moving on to Larkfield as a trading site, I note that you have to consider paragraphs 1.2, 2.3 and 2.5 of the policy. Paragraph 1.2 seeks to ensure that activities of a trader do not cause nuisance or annoyance to the people in the area. Looking at the map of the applications, generally, and particularly in relation to Larkfield, dead ends seem to be the favoured roads of choice for Howe & Co. Larkfield is a dead end. It only has one public turning area on the adopted road, which requires a 3-point turn. We're talking about a vehicle which is 7.5 metres long and 3.5 metres wide. Our development has private driveways off the single road that is marked in purple on your map. Those driveways are not available for large vehicles to turn round, and indeed the refuse lorries do not do that. Everybody brings their bins to the main road, nor can a commercial vehicle that's trading actually stay on any of the pavers because they're trespassing. So they only have the road itself. The van is 3.5 metres wide. When it's parked on Larkfield, there'll be little room for vehicles to safely pass. I've measured the width of the road. It's 5.5 metres wide. So that gives you 2 metres to pass safely. And the sight lines on Larkfield are not brilliant because of shrubs and the way that the road actually bends. Reading paragraph 711 of the report, it doesn't appear that Surrey County Council's highways response to the application resulted from an on-the-ground survey. It looks more like simply a paper exercise, desktop paper exercise. I'll be corrected if I'm wrong. But I note that the senior engineer of the Highways Operations Infrastructure, Surrey Highways and Transport, in his response to you, dated the 8th of April of this year, concedes that the majority of the roads are narrow, and that if you receive complaints from residents, to quote, we would have to reassess the application, unquote. Please consider this as my complaint as a resident. But I think the road is just simply too narrow. Okay, moving on to paragraph 2.3, if I may, the risk to public order, 2.3.1. I can't really argue that the sighting of a fish and chip van would be necessarily a risk to public order in Ewhurst. I don't see any fights breaking out or anything like that, so I can't argue that. However, paragraph 2.3.2, public nuisance. I would argue that the fish and chip van trading on Larkfield is likely to represent a substantial risk of nuisance from noise. Synonym of substantial, significant or considerable. The fish and chip van will, by its very nature, be noisy. It's got an engine or a generator to be running for the duration of its park visit. Kirsty suggests 20 minutes, it may be less. Could be more because the application suggests it can stay in one location for up to an hour. So, 20 minutes, we would see. The dwellings are very close to where the vehicle could park. It's going to cause pollution if it's idling an engine for the period of time. To my mind, this is inimitable to the quiet enjoyment in what is currently a very quiet and peaceful road. There will also inevitably be additional noise from visiting cars and potentially members of the public while waiting for their orders. And whilst not specifically covered by paragraph 2.3.2, I think there would also be a nuisance caused by the smell of fast food cooking. And the local residents are not allowed to have businesses which would do exactly the same thing. Moving on to public safety, and this is a general point, but our development has enjoyed a very low incidence of crime, arguably because it's quite hidden away in the village. Nobody really notices it. And it's a dead end, so people don't drive through it to go somewhere else. Excuse me. I think granting this application to trade in Larkfield is going to result in a flow of non-resident members of the public to arrive by car or on foot to discover Larkfield and jeopardise that benefit of anonymity that the residents enjoy, and thereby putting our current public safety at risk. I implore you not to put us at risk by approving the Larkfield site. Paragraph 2.5, I've heard what Councillor Higgins has said about the needs of the village. With respect, Councillor, I don't think I was personally polled about whether or not I wanted a fish and chip van, and I don't know the extent to which others were. However, the village pub has only very recently reopened, and it's been struggling for some time. To actually compete on a Saturday night with a mobile fish and chip van seems an unreasonable introduction of a competitor to the village on that evening. Concluding remarks, Larkfield is a quiet, close-knit community of 40 houses where residents know each other's names. Birds sing, owls hoot, children play in the road. As previously mentioned, the road's narrow, it's a dead end, there's no through traffic, and it's not very well known. The common area of Larkfield is grassed, with flower beds cared for by the residents to a high standard, who pay into a fund for its maintenance. It's currently a very peaceful place to live. Please, I implore you, don't spoil this by allowing a fish and chip van to trade in Larkfield. It's the wrong place, and it's a horrible idea. I would agree with Councillor Higgins' option that the Village Hall car park is a much more sensible proposal. It's consistent with a pizza van which trades there once a week, and it's well known to all of the village residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Last question before I ask Kirsty to come in.
Yes, I do. I just want
Yeah.
a clarification. Sorry, I've forgotten your name.
That's quite all right. Steve Wells.
Oh, Steve. Steve has mentioned that the fish and chip van can stay there maybe for longer than an hour, but my
No,
understanding is
It
it's
said up to an hour.
up to an hour, but my understanding is it's 20 minutes.
That's how I understand it, and the proposed condition that would be typical of an itinerant trader would impose that 20-minute limit, yes.
I think she's heard you, Chairman, because
Right.
your mic got switched off when somebody else
Right.
switched it.
Kirsty, could I ask you now to comment, if you wish, about the Ewhurst situation, please?
Okay, well, we obviously are not here to set out to upset anyone. We want to offer a service to the village, which I say, as I said earlier, with regards to putting out polls, asking people's feedback. We had a huge response to that, and people wanting the fish and chip van once a week. If what's been Larkfield, we would not go there. We're not here to upset anyone. That's why we put these things out there. If it's not right, we would remove it. So of course we would not could continue with something that we know that wouldn't be, you know, people wouldn't accept. There would be no point going to somewhere to upset anyone and also to not see anyone. You know, we're here to just offer a new service to the village. And if we feel that the village club or the village car park was the best place, which maybe for Ewhurst is, we'd be more than happy to put in a new application just to support that for Ewhurst. Wouldn't say we're quite happy to remove Larkfield. It's not something we were here to upset anyone. So we just want to offer a service, put out there, and we've had a good response about visiting. So that's why we continued with it. But we are happy to remove those stops and, you know, say if it was to put in a new application for Ewhurst for those possibly 1 or 2 locations.
May I respond?
Mr. Wells, you want to come back briefly?
Just extremely briefly. I don't believe that I was surveyed by Howe & Co. In any shape or form. And also what I failed to mention was that I'm speaking not in my own personal capacity, although I am. I'm also speaking on behalf of the Larkfield Residents Association, which is just the residents association of 40 houses. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I assumed you were speaking for the road, I have to say. Right, well, I think we've now been through all the locations. Kirsty, is there anything you want to say to sum up in respect of all the locations generally, or anything you want to say before we retire?
No, I don't think so. I think it's pretty much all been said. You know, want to offer a good service, service that, you know, has been asked for, requested. So that's why we've been happy to change things, alter things, and go from there. So, you know, that's pretty much where we're standing at the moment.
I think my colleague's got one final question.
Okay.
Kirsty, while we've been going through these sites for each area, at least 3 of them, you know, indicated that there would be set sites instead of itinerant sites, and you've been indicating that you wouldn't be against looking at those, and it does make me wonder if you know, it might be worth maybe looking at the other areas to see if there are set sites. I don't know, it's something that I am querying with you, because it may be that it might be in your benefit to look at those sites rather than trawling around the countryside for 20 minutes. And you can have longer if a license would be granted for those areas. It is just a thought that I have.
Okay. I mean,
we obviously have to deal with the application that we
know.
have in front of us.
Yes, then.
Yeah, Councillor Gale.
Yeah, just one final question. Spencer, you weren't particularly clear. Is it limited to 20 minutes per stop?
The proposed condition, the condition we're proposing be given to the consent, added to the consent would limit it to 20 minutes for each stop.
May I also just clarify?
Yes.
We have discussed about licenses, but this is a street trading consent, so I think they're slightly different in terms of the legislation. That's all. Thank you.
Have all the different terminologies for the different things that we get asked for, but yeah, we're looking at a street trading consent. So we'll now retire and come back as soon as we can and deal with what we're prepared to grant. Thank you. Right, well, thank you very much for awaiting our return. And we've carefully considered all the sites where a street trading consent has been asked for. And based upon the maps that have been provided in our papers from page 67, we grant the following consents: Elsted, Whitley, Dunsfold, on the basis that it is sites 1 and 2 only, not site 3. Oxford Ridge and Aarons Hill in Godalming, Bramley, Monash, and Shamley Green. when it comes to Chiddingfold and Ewhurst, we refuse the consents, and the grounds for refusal are public nuisance and safety in accordance with paragraph 2.3.2 and 2.3.3 of our street trading policy 2021. We note that there is some appetite in the villages of Chiddingfold and Ewhurst for there to be the sale of fish and chips in those villages, and it'll be up to the applicant whether they make a separate application in a different format for those two villages. So that is that. The conditions on the consents are to a 20-minute maximum stop period, and a second condition that there'll be no trading outside residential properties after 2100 hours. So those are two specific conditions put with this consent. The decision of this committee should be received in writing within the next 5 days. And as we understand it, there's no right of appeal against this decision. I think I've covered everything. So on the basis that our decision is quite clear, officers are wanting to ask a question.
Yeah, sorry, just to confirm on the bespoke conditions, we've got the 20 minutes, the residential after 9 p.m. Would we condition no itinerant trading for Chiddingfold and no itinerant trading for Ewhurst as two additional bespoke conditions to be able
Well, I
to grant
suppose if we
it?
haven't granted it, they
Yes,
can't
we'd
do
add
it.
those as conditions to exclude those two areas.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
we've made it clear that we do not give our consent so far as Ewhurst and Chiddingfold is concerned. Therefore,
We'll
that
condition.
part of the application has failed so far as the applicant is concerned.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Sorry,
Yes,
just
Councillor
just to
Higgins.
follow on up on that point, I wouldn't want a condition that there was no itinerant trading there, just in case it prejudiced any future application.
Yeah, I mean, I think this application as we have received it, we are refusing. I mean, they could come back with an itinerant application for 20 minutes at the village hall and 20 minutes at the village car park, for example.
That's correct.
I suspect they would want longer than that, but that is a matter for the applicant to decide. And therefore to say there will be no itinerant applications in the future at either village would be overstretching it. I agree. Yes, Mr. Spence.
I think, just to clarify, I think the consent that my colleague Holly was proposing there would only apply to this consent. It wouldn't be a condition that would restrict any other future applications. It's just for this consent to sort of state it explicitly.
As we've refused consent, it's very clear what the position is. This application has failed as in its current format. We are not saying that future applications of any sort for those villages might follow. But I think Kirsty will have got the message that actually the village would welcome something different in those villages, and that is up to the applicant whether they make that application or not. Are you clear, Kirsty, where we're coming from?
Yes, yep. So obviously you've just gone over the villages that have been accepted. Chiddingfold and Ewhurst not accepted unless we put through maybe a different application for one location. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.